It is my great privilege to be able to introduce to you today, and we include our campuses as well, Nicholas Tranchini. And we are so excited to have him. He led yesterday in a conference right here in this room. It had over 150 people that were a part of a Deep Changes conference. He is the executive director of that ministry. He is married to his wife, Annie, and he has 3 beautiful children. And we are excited to have him today. We're excited on a number of levels. Number one, he is a good friend of our own Pastor Julio. And so that's why we would welcome him from around the world. He is an author. He is a pastor. He is a teacher, preacher, and we're delighted to have him in the service today. His home country, he was born in Argentina, which I was telling him before the service, that was the very first mission trip that I had. And now he currently resides in the country of Spain. And so we are excited to have him here. He's going to open up the scriptures for you today, and he's going to share with us what the Holy Spirit has laid on his heart, how we can grow and develop when we experience the deep change that Jesus wants to bring about in our lives. And so I'm going to ask you to do this since he's come all the way from Spain to be with us today. I'm going to ask you to give a warm Roanoke Valley welcome and FCC welcome to Nicholas Tranchini.
Thank you. He forgot to mention that I'm Italian. For real. I can prove I have my passport here. My English is a little rusty, so you're going to have to bear with me. At least I have a friend of mine. He's a missionary. He's a missions pastor, and he's from the U.S. He went to Argentina once, and I know his Spanish, okay? I know his Spanish. And he told me, they asked me to preach. And I'm like, what? Yeah, they asked me to preach. With a translator, yes? And he said, no. So how in the world did you preach? And he said, well, I preached in present tense. The entire sermon. I'm not going to do that to you, I promise. But bear with me. So yeah, I was born in Argentina. I am Italian. I work for a U.S. Missionary agency, and I live in Spain. I travel a lot. I've been to maybe, I don't know, I lost the count, maybe 50 different countries. I teach every time, most of the times in Spanish. That's why my English is not so great. Yeah, I wrote a couple of books. Maybe if you want to get them, you can get them on Amazon later on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in trouble because I'm going to teach and share with you just the first chapter of one of the books I wrote. And I'm going to do this on purpose. You're probably going to hate what I say, for real. You're not going to like it. You're going to be confused. But I'm doing this intentionally so you can go online and get the book and read the rest. So, I'm going to talk about what's a superficial change. And I would like to start with a question. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and I don't want you to answer those questions. I know you're Americans. You don't answer anyway. But if I were in other countries, they'll come up with, answers. No, just think. So think about this. It is a very easy question. It's a very, it's not hard. So let's start with an easy one, okay? So, are pastors Christians? That's my first question. What's your immediate response? What's the biblical response to it? Don't answer the question. I heard yeah somewhere. I'm like, you're not listening. What's the answer to that? Now, of course, we all know the biblical answer to that, yes? The correct answer is no. 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 Most of them, or at least many of them, are not. That's what Jesus said, and that's what the Bible says. Now, let me ask you this, and I want you to think. Why is your immediate response and natural response to that question yes? Why? Think about it for a second. Why would you be tempted to think, Of course they're Christians. How can you even ask questions? Now, I'm gonna guess your question. I'm gonna try to answer the question for you. And the answer is gonna be for everybody the same answer right now. Do you know why you're tempted to say yes? Because of what they do. Of course they're Christians. They teach the Bible. They preach. They study the Bible. They pray. They talk to people. They visit people, etc., etc., etc. Whatever you thought about, it was an action. You assumed pastors are Christians because of what they do. And that is precisely the biblical reason why Jesus says they aren't, because of what they do. Let me show you to see that I'm not crazy. Look, first of all, Matthew 7. I want you to notice how the text begins. It says many. It doesn't say few. It's exactly the opposite. So Jesus is answering the question. Yes? Many, and I want you to notice who these people are. These are not agnostics, atheists, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, people from other religions. These are people, I want you to see, I know you know this text, I want you to see what's in yellow. These are people who dedicated their lives to do three things: prophesy, cast out demons, and perform many miracles. Now immediately, if you know your New Testament, you know you've seen these three things together before, somewhere, because Jesus put them together at some other place. That place is when he sends the 70, he says, prophesy that the kingdom has come, cast down demons, and heal the sick. Do you remember this? So this is what the disciples are supposed to do. Yes? And Jesus says to these people, to many, notice one thing, not to all of them, but to many of them, most of them, a big chunk of them, not just few people, but many people who are at the judgment day in front of Jesus. And I want you to notice the atmosphere of the text. That's what they teach at seminary. You need to take a look at the atmosphere when you read the Bible. What's the atmosphere here? Surprised. They're absolutely and completely surprised. How in the world you're not going to let me into heaven when I have done all this? I spent my entire life doing this. You are supposed to let me in. And Jesus, I want you to notice what Jesus says. Then I will declare to them, I never knew you. It doesn't say, I knew you and I stopped knowing you. It says, never. Never, never, never. Now, it's really interesting because, okay, now you know me. Yes? You know my name, Nicholas. You know where I was born. You know I'm married. You know I have 3 children. You know I wrote a few books. You know that I'm a preacher. So, in a sense, you know me, yes? Okay, let's think about this. Let's say I have a daughter, she's 17. Let's say she gets married, maybe when she's 50 or something like that. Not too soon. But let's say it's the wedding, and we're celebrating, and there's lots of people, and you just knock on the door and say, hey, can I get in? And I'm like, wait. No. Why not? You say, I know you. I've listened to you preach. I know your name. I know about you. I've read your book. I've listened to your sermon, blah, 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 blah. What would I say to you? I'm sorry, you may know me, but I don't know you. Have you noticed that? That's what the text says. It doesn't say that you need to know about Jesus. It says that he needs to know who you are. I don't know if you ever thought about that. in this text. What does that mean? Actually, in Greek, the verb here, knowing, it's the same, to know, it's the same verb that Matthew uses, I think it's in Matthew 1, when he talks about Joseph and Mary, and the text says this, and Joseph didn't know Mary until Jesus was born. What is it talking about? Don't answer, but you already know the answer. Intimacy. Sexual relationships. Of course he knew Mary, but there wasn't any intimate relationship until after Jesus was born. That's what the text is saying. So this kind of knowing is a different kind of knowing. Jonathan Edwards, he was probably the best theologian in the U.S. history. He said something like this, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, there's two types of knowledge. There's the intellectual knowledge through by which we can understand things, but then there's another type of knowledge. The knowledge where we can appreciate and see the beauty of the thing that we're seeing. Example, I can explain to you what honey is, yes? I can tell you, well, honey is like this, it's some sort of liquid kind of thing, and it's very sweet, blah, blah, blah. And you can explain it to someone who has never had honey. Knowledge. You can transfer that intellectual knowledge, yes? And you can have a conceptual knowledge of what honey is. But wait a minute. It is a whole different thing to savor honey, to taste it, to enjoy it in your mouth. Now, it's a different kind of knowledge. That's what he calls the knowledge of the affections. From here to here. Somebody said, the longest distance in the universe. I can know without knowing. What Jesus is talking about here is this. You may know about me, but there wasn't this. John put it like this, the gospel. He said, John 17, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So this text is essentially talking about a true conversion. There was never this true appreciation. The gospel was never honey in your mouth. Yes, you could explain it. You share it with other people. You went to church. You read your Bible. All these things. But was it honey? That's a big thing. I want to read you a quote. This is one of my favorite quotes. I probably read it, I don't know, maybe 100 times already in 5 different continents. It's not mine. It belongs to Tim Keller. And he says this, very much related with this passage. He says this, why do people enter into ministry? For noble motivations, right? Years ago, I read this quote from Charles Spurgeon in a book for ministry students. Do not preach the gospel to save your own soul. Now chew on that. Do not preach the gospel to save your own soul. I was around 20 years at the time, and I thought, what kind of an idiot would try to save his soul by preaching the gospel? But after a few years in ministry, you begin to realize something. If ministry goes well, grows, and people like you, you feel disproportionately good. But if it goes poorly and people don't like you, you begin to feel bad. Why? Because you're working from the outside in. And this is what you assume. If people like me, if people say you've helped me, then God will love me. And I will finally love myself. And the sense of void, the sense of insignificance, the sense of impurity that I feel inside will disappear. But it doesn't. Now, you may not be in ministry, but you and I have the same way of functioning because we're humans. If your temptation may think, if people say I have a great body, if people say I have a great haircut, great makeup, great account balance, great car, great house, whatever, then this sense of void will disappear. But it doesn't. It doesn't. Let me ask you this. Let me tell you this. Deep Changes, but by the way, that's the name of a book, but it's not just the name of a book. It became a ministry. But we like to say that Deep Changes is not a book. Deep Changes is a worldview. It's a way of understanding change. It's a new set of glasses to understand biblical change. Not because it's new, but it's because it's a new way to express an old truth. So let me share with you another question. Now you're not going to want to answer it, because now you know it's a tricky one. But think about this. What's more spiritual? Who's more spiritual? A politician who steals money or someone who gives money to a church? Now, the answer to that question completely depends on the lenses you wear, on your worldview. If you have a human worldview, the way you will answer that question depends once again on what you see, the actions of these people. One person is doing a really, really bad action, stealing money. The other person is doing a really, really good action. Therefore, one is bad, the other one is good. That's the way you and I tend to see the world. Yes? But the Lord comes and says something like this. The Lord does not look at things the way people look at things, because people look at the outward appearance. The Lord looks here. And this is what we use. You will see an iceberg on the top of the books, because an iceberg has two parts. A part that you can see and a part that you can't see. What we can see is the actions of people. What we can't see is the heart. When you see someone like a politician stealing money, you immediately think, oh, who is he? Why is he doing that? Oh, because he's loving himself. Clearly, he's not loving the country, the people, the poor. He's loving himself. That's why he's stealing money. That's very easy to identify, yes? But when you look at someone giving money, this is something I noticed. And I'm going to be mean at Americans. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You don't see this in other parts of the world, yes? Have you noticed that when other Americans give money, a lot of money to a book, to a library, to a church, to whatever, they always like to have their names there? Money given by... This library was blah, 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 blah. I say this in French. Pourquoi? Why? Why? What's the motivation behind it? Oh, the glory of God. Come on. What's the motivation behind it? Yeah, you know it. You perfectly know it. Yourself, self-love. Oh, wait a minute. What you're telling me, Nico, is that this guy who's stealing money has self-love, and this guy who's giving money, who's a Christian, giving money to his church, also has self-love. Exactly. That's why the text is so important. That's why this worldview is so important. It's not my worldview. It's Christ's worldview. That's why people get surprised. But I'm doing the right thing. I'm expelling demons. I'm doing the 3 things that you told your disciples. And Jesus says, wait a minute. Your honey was your own name. What you really enjoyed, what caused you pleasure, was not helping people. but getting your name over there. You see? Change on the outside, change on the inside. Here, let me give you an example. Let's see if I have time. By the way, those who are going to Zambia, I have to warn you, I've been there. Some services last 4 hours, 5 hours. They only gave me 30 minutes. You better get used to it. You better get used to it. I want you to think, this is an example. I want you to think about a non-Christian young man. He's very handsome. He knows how to talk. So anyways, this is his sport. One thing that he likes to do every single weekend, he goes to a disco and he finds the most beautiful girl and he says, that girl over there, that girl over there. And he goes talk to this girl and takes her to a hotel and he sleeps with her. Very bad, yes? After he sleeps with her, he does something very interesting. He says to her, come, let's do a selfie. Takes a selfie, beep, with her. Guess what he does right after that? Something that I'm sure you have never done in your entire lives, because you're not like this guy. He posts that on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm sure you never post your pictures. I'm sure you never post your triumphs. I'm not sleeping around, Nico. What are you talking about? Now, if you look at this guy, he sleeps with women. Of course he sleeps with women. That's wrong. I'm not saying that's right. But when you ask why, when you look at the heart, you're going to notice that this guy, he wants likes. He wants to be popular. He wants to be known on media by his being able to conquer ladies. Am I different? Well, but I'm not sleeping around. But wait a minute. My wife has a 22-year-old car. When I drive, we live in Malaga in the south of Spain, so the sun is there 316 days of the year, so it has lost all his appearance. And it's kind of funny because when I drive her car, that is so old to take my children to school, I kind of tend to go like this. I don't really like to be seen with this car. Not a very pretty one. Wait. Am I looking for identity like this guy's looking for identity? Am I just simply using a different mean? Does that make me more holy? Does that make me different? If the Lord looks at the heart, does that make me different? Now, let's think for a second. This guy, he comes to a church and he likes it. Someone preaches the gospel and he makes a prayer. And now he stops sleeping with girls. And one day they ask him to share his testimony. And of course, remember, he can talk. So he does a great job. And everybody's like, wow, thank you. So, wow. He starts reading the Bible. He starts leading small groups. Eventually, he goes to seminary. He becomes a pastor. And now, he dedicates his life to save souls. Nobody questions if he's changed. Nobody. Because everybody's looking at the same thing. Everybody's thinking, he used to sleep with girls. Now he's studying and preaching the gospel. Now he has a big church. Of course he's changed. Nobody except the one, like the text says, that looks at the different thing. Except the one that looks at the heart. When pastors get together and they don't know each other, everywhere in the world, by the way, they're always wanting to know one thing. Do you know what they want to know? They want to know the size of the other pastor's church. How many members in your church? Pourquoi? Why? ¿Por qué? The bigger the church, the greater the pastor. The smaller the church, the smaller the pastor. The bigger the car, the nicer the car, the greater I am. The greater the dress. You go to a wedding, oh my goodness, you better have a good dress. You better have a good haircut. Why? It's an image thing. I am trying to show my beauty. I am trying to show I'm great. We do this with everything. Everything. So this guy conquers souls, but his dream is his church to grow. Has he changed? Has he changed? No wonder it says, many on that day will say to me, wait a minute, I was a pastor. I know, but what you really find pleasure in was not in me. What you really find pleasure was in something else. My goodness, only 5 minutes. Okay. You need to go to Zambia, all of you. All of you need to go to Zambia. Let me show you one last verse because I have half of my sermon for the next service. One last verse. Look, let me show you that this is not an exception. Let me show you how this is the rule. Luke 22:24. And a dispute also developed among them. Who is them? These are the 12 most committed people in history. The disciples. They dedicated their life to serve Jesus. That's what they did for 3 years. And now Peter is cursing John. And John is screaming at Peter. And James comes along and says, you two, I'm the greatest one. I'm the greatest one. I don't want you to answer this, but think about this. I travel a lot. I go to Africa a lot, so I eat all sorts of things. All sorts of things. So I'm somewhat used to those. But on my last trip to Burkina Faso, not too long, this is about 2 months ago, you have to be gentle with people and you have to, of course, eat whatever they give you. But I promise you, it was like vomit. It was just terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Of course, every time I go, I lose a lot of weight because a U.S. missionary, for real, taught me. I was with him on my first trip to Egypt. He was from the area, by the way. One of you guys. He was from the area. He opened up his suitcase, and he has so many cookies and treats and all that. When we went to Africa, I'm like, what's that for? And it's like, you'll see. And then I learned. So I take my chocolate when I go to Africa, too. You can do that. And what was I saying? Where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Africa. It was so terrible. I really didn't want to go back there. I want you to think, what if I tell you, sell your house, sell your cars, the only country in the world that has more than one, your cars, sell maybe your houses, leave your family, and come with me to Burkina Faso to live there, to talk to people about Jesus. Now, be honest, be completely honest, and don't raise your hands. Will you be willing to do that? Will you be willing to leave your house, to leave your car, to leave your job, to quit your job, to leave your family, and go live at a place where you don't even have a place to rest your head? Well, let me tell you something. These people were willing to leave their homes, their families, their houses. They left everything behind except one thing. their ego, their pride. This is not Luke 1. This is Luke 22. This is at the end of Jesus' ministry. That's the one thing that can't change. You know what? You can't change what you love. You can't change what you love. Your heart has to be conquered by something higher than what you are savoring right now. I got no more time. I told you you'll be in trouble because I never gave you a solution for this. You have to buy the book. Let me put the book right there. You see, there was so much more there that I wanted to say. But just in case, at least you get to see it. Let me tell you in 56 seconds how you change. This is how a person changes. If a little kid is addicted to lollipops, how do you deliver him from his addiction? If all he finds pleasure in is lollipops, 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 how do you help him? If you give him a commandment, stop eating lollipops, he will still do it. If you discipline, he will still do it. If you explain to him that's not good for you, like sin, he would still do it. How do you help him? If you put it in a room, in his room, and take all the lollipops away, we've done it. No more lollipops. He can't eat more lollipop anymore. That's a superficial change. When he goes to bed, what is he going to be dreaming about? How do you help someone who's addicted to sin? How do you help someone who's addicted to his own idols? How do you help someone who's addicted to this that I've been talking about, or to any sort of addiction? The same way you help the kid. Do you know how you help him? It's very easy. Super easy. You offer the little kid chocolate. And then he becomes addicted to chocolate because he found something sweeter than lollipops, something better than lollipops. You know what? Jesus Christ is chocolate. The fact that the God of the universe became a man, died for you, gave his own very life for you. Understanding that, taking that from here to here is experience, not only that saves you, but changes you throughout life. You want more? Go get it. Okay? Thank you so very much. God bless you.